This system doesn't clap when you finish. It doesn't care about wins, likes, or praise. It doesn't run on serotonin. It runs on structure. It runs on looped execution. No matter how you feel, and once you step inside it, you don't leave the same. It all starts with Part 1. Part 1, the 08 Protocol. You've been told your mind needs fuel, motivation, energy, clarity. That once you feel better, you'll finally move. They lied, because there's a point where nothing inside you responds. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're just done. No emotion, no spark, no fire, just stillness. And the weight of everything you should be doing. Most people collapse here. This is where we begin. The 08 Protocol wasn't built for high achievers. It was built for collapse, for numbness, for minds that are running on nothing but still need to operate at full force. Doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't ask how you slept. It doesn't reward you for trying, because this isn't therapy. It's not self-help. It's not a quote to pin to your wall. This is an internal operating system. One that runs without emotion. One that activates under pressure. One that turns hesitation into function automatically. And once it's installed, you don't need motivation. Again, you don't need to feel anything at all. You just execute. This is the 08 Protocol. Let's walk through the steps to weaponize this installation. Step 1. Deactivate the civilian mind. The first step isn't motivation. It's mental deletion. You've been trained to think like a civilian, to seek comfort before action, to wait for clarity before commitment, to ask for permission from your own emotions. This is the programming of the domesticated mind. If I don't feel like it, I don't have to. If I'm tired, I'll rest. If I'm not ready, I'll wait. This thinking is poison to performance. Turns every decision into a debate. It multiplies hesitation. It gives emotion the power to override command. That version of you must be deleted. You don't comfort that voice. You don't give it space. You don't argue with it. You kill it. Because that's the first law of high functioning execution. Emotion is not the operator. Command is. From now on, you begin each day with a mental override sequence. You wake up and say, flatly, without energy or hype, I am not tired. I am not overwhelmed. I am not emotional. I am executable. Not once, but until something shifts. Until the whiny voice inside goes quiet. Until the part of you waiting to feel good realizes it's been replaced. This isn't positive thinking. It's reprogramming. You're not here to think your way into action. You're here to act your way into clarity. And if thoughts come, let them. But treat them like traffic noise, background static, passing signals from an obsolete system. They are not orders. They are not sacred. They are irrelevant. Because now you are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not your hesitation. You are a system, a function, an executive of tasks. This is the death of the civilian mindset and the birth of the cold operator. Now and from this point forward, you are no longer here to think. You are here to act. Step 2. Micro-command initiation. You never start with finish the project. That's too vague, too overwhelming, too human. Because the human brain especially when an emotional shutdown doesn't respond to complexity. Stalls. It spirals. It procrastinates. That's why civilians fail. They approach execution like it's a movie montage. They think in grand outcomes, write the book, build the brand, fix my life. But systems don't operate on drama. They operate on micro inputs. So from now on, your goal is not completion. Your goal is initiation. Here's how you start. Strip the task down to its first executable atom, the smallest action. That requires zero thought and zero emotion. Not a goal, not a step, just the next command. Open the file. Turn on the light. Stand up. Sit down and breathe. Put your fingers on the keyboard. Press record. Type the first word. Walk to the door. That's it. This is called micro-command initiation, and it is the ignition switch for your entire nervous system. The second the command is clear, you act within 5 seconds. No debate, no pause, no mental warm up. Why 5 seconds? Because the moment your brain senses a gap between command and action, it floods the system with doubt, excuses, narratives, self-sabotage. But when you act, instantly, you bypass the emotional firewall. You prove again and again that movement doesn't require agreement, only requires instruction. And every time you obey the micro-command without emotion, you strengthen the obedience loop. The brain learns, I don't need to feel ready. I just need to move. You are now building neural automation. From fragile identity to program function. From burnout to clean execution. You're not finishing the race. You're just taking the first silent step. And that first step, when repeated under stress, becomes the trigger for everything else. It's not magic. It's mechanical dominance. Start small, start cold, but always start. Step 3. Detach from results. This is where most people fail. They treat small wins like victories. They stop to celebrate effort. They chase the high of I did something. That's not performance. That's civilian conditioning. It's the loop they taught you in school. Complete a task, get a gold star, try your best, earn a pat on the back. But here, there are no stars, no praise, no applause, no serotonin spikes, because you're not here for the high. You're here for the output. That's the shift. You're not performing because you're motivated. You're performing because you're now the type of person who obeys the protocol. You follow the code regardless of emotional outcome. So, when the action is complete, don't pause. Don't react. Don't indulge. You don't say, look at me. I did it. You say flatly, coldly, that was expected. What's next? That phrase is critical. It resets the execution loop. It trains your nervous system that output is normal, not worthy of reward. This is how you hardwire identity over emotion. The more often you perform without expecting to feel anything, the more dangerous you become. Why? Because now, your effort isn't driven by pleasure. It's driven by protocol. You've erased the feedback loop. You've removed the need to be seen. You've shut down the addict that wants a dopamine hit every time you finish something. Instead, you build quiet consistency, brutal reliability, obsessive internal standards. That's not just discipline. That's identity reprogramming. So here's your new formula. Command, execute, Reset. No pride, no story, no break. Just the loop. The reward is no longer the feeling. The reward is the ability to keep going without it. That's how operators are built. That's how you outperform the world while everyone else is still checking how they feel. Step 4. Loop it until you forget. You're tired. This system is not a one-time fix. It's not a switch you flip and walk away from. It's a loop. And you don't run it once. You run it until everything else disappears. Until your sense of time collapses. Until your feelings dull into silence. Until the pain, the resistance, the boredom, the doubt don't go away. They just stop mattering. That's when you know you've entered the protocol zone. At this stage, your goal is no longer finishing the task. Your goal is looping commands until your identity rewires itself over and over. Micro command action reset. Micro command action reset. Micro command action reset. No thoughts, no breaks, no mental commentary. You don't reflect. You don't analyze. You just continue. This is the part that breaks most people because their nervous system is addicted to variation, stimulation, feedback. But that's the cost of transformation. You don't get to change while being entertained. You change by becoming boringly unstoppable. You change by repeating the same loop until your brain gives up the fight and the machine takes over. And that machine version of you, it doesn't complain, doesn't hesitate, it doesn't need to be convinced. It just runs. You'll know it's working when you start moving without telling yourself to. You realize an hour has passed without distraction. You finish something and don't remember starting it. You stop caring that you're tired because you're moving anyway. That's not flow state. That's not motivation. That's identity override. That's when the emotions that used to hold you hostage, fatigue, dread, apathy, overthinking, are still there. But now they're irrelevant. You're no longer trying to fix how you feel. You're too deep in the loop to even notice. That's the moment you forget. You're tired. Not because the pain is gone, but because you no longer care. Before we continue, there's something hidden I need to show you. It's called the Whisper Power Bundle. Inside are secret ebooks and audiobooks, dark knowledge I couldn't speak out loud, methods built for minds like yours, the ones who refuse to stay average. And here's the real part. Once you download it, you'll get lifetime access to every future release I create. No noise, no fluff, just raw mental weaponry, delivered straight into your hands. Forever. If this video is hitting something deep, that bundle is your next step. Link is in the pinned comment. Open it and don't tell the others what you find inside. Step 5. Kill the need for readiness forever. Here's the final truth. You will never be ready. You will never feel fully aligned. You will never arrive at the perfect mental state. Waiting is the addiction. Just one more hour, just one more break. Let me feel better first. That's the trap. And it keeps people average forever. Because the average person spends more time waiting to feel ready than they do moving while unready. But you're not average anymore. The 08 protocol doesn't care about readiness. It doesn't require healing. It doesn't ask if you slept well or if your past is resolved. It only asks one question. Can you execute in darkness? Because that's the final test of mental evolution. to move without momentum, to act without incentive, to obey the command even when your mind is silent, your chest is empty, and your soul is tired. This isn't about fixing yourself. This is about replacing the need to be fixed. This is where transformation happens. Not by becoming stronger, but by making your weakness irrelevant. You are no longer a servant of motivation. You are no longer ruled by inspiration. Those are luxuries. You are function. You are system. You execute from zero, from nothing, from numbness, from cold, thoughtless stillness. That's the level where the world can't touch you, because when the system collapses, the lights go. The chaos spikes. Everyone else freezes. You don't because you don't move from energy anymore. You move from code. That's what makes you unstoppable. Not your strength, not your confidence, but your ability to move when everything inside you has disappeared. That's not performance, that's dominance. Part 2. Turning action into obsession. You learned how to move without motivation. You learned how to execute even when your mind was screaming stop. That was survival. But this is the evolution. Welcome to Part 2 of the Zero State Protocol. This is where we go beyond function into something darker, something obsessive, something permanent. Here's what they don't tell you. Starting isn't power. Escaping is weakness. Anyone can start. Starting is cheap. You can start every day and still end up nowhere because there's always a way out. You start then stall. You start, then get distracted. You start then talk yourself down. This isn't discipline. Failure. This is escape conditioning. You've been trained to keep a mental back door open at all times, a just-in case window. If it gets too hard, I'll stop. If I'm not ready, I'll quit. If I fail, I'll pretend I didn't care. But obsession cannot grow in rooms with open doors. It needs isolation. It needs claustrophobia. It needs the psychological reality that the only direction is forward. From now on, when you commit to a task, you don't just start. You remove the exit. You burn the bridge behind you. That means you delete the app that breaks your focus. You publicly declare the deadline. You put money down on failure. You block the fallback option that comforts your weakness. You remove the safety net that lets you restart later. You lock the cage from the inside, because once your system understands there's no way out, a new layer of obsession is born.